This is something that should have came out with the rest of the videos. But I didn't like what I recorded, so I re-recorded it. So, Leafy. Leafy, what we now know is a permanent ban, and pretty much where that leaves us as content creators on YouTube. Pretty much any platform, really. Because it's the same concept for any platform that is well known enough that a person being banned off of it is enough of a big deal. Especially if they had the kind of career, or more specifically, the kind of, well, fanfare that Calvin does. How did we get here where people who are so fucking terrified of criticism can get somebody else banned off a platform because they say to themselves, oh, it's unfair that you do that. Don't you know that a main is a woman? You can't criticize women. And at the same time, will then say nothing about how Ethan Klein just basically fleeced every single one of you for the bag. And you let it happen. And you let it happen. Because realistically, the story of Leafy's ban does not start with Leafy making a video about a main. It starts all the way back with Gokunaru's video. Further back than that, actually. All the way to the big gay wop Carlos Maza himself, weaponizing Pride Month to attack Steven Crowder. And unsuccessfully being able to take down his political rival, but successfully demonetizing him. And having the culprit of this situation, YouTube's horrible policies, being enforced months later to take down Calvin after doing what Calvin does best, monetizing his situation until he runs himself into the ground. Whether or not you liked the content cop as created by iDubbbz, you cannot excuse the fact that Video Vigilante by Gokunaru and Content Nuke from technically Leafy, but also the back and forth exchange between Keemstar and H3H3 Productions, as headed by Ethan and Hila Klein, are responsible for this scenario. Because realistically, any person, especially like that, a fucking Asmongold, will get there. But, for starters, any interpretation of the rules considering harassment should not be a case of, oh, you got enough attention that we have a big streamer and her multi-channel network barking at us. So, clearly, you need to be banned for that. That's bullshit. Bullshit 5,000 times around. Because, had Pokimane just taken responsibility for her fucking actions, Leafy would have probably never made the video. And, if Ethan Klein had not tried to provoke Calvin by saying that he couldn't make it in this climate, after both Hila and Ethan, but I'm gonna blame Ethan because it's Ethan's mouth that keeps running. After Ethan Klein claims that Leafy couldn't survive in this climate, he successfully not only makes a return, but demonstrates actually yes the fuck he can. Because this climate's no different than it was before. The only difference is that you have a whole bunch of people who are claiming that they are sanitized and that they're good and that they're better content creators, doing the exact same things that they're complaining about. Because, be it resolved, the thing that was bad about Leafy making the videos he did, regardless of whether or not the actual consideration of criticism inside of them, of which there was only 3, regardless of the content, the packaging, the content, the clickbaiting, if all of that was wrong, why did the streamers then monetize the crisis and then gloat after he was banned? If bullying is bad, why did you bully him? Oh, because he did it. Well, yes, because Calvin can take it. You can't. I say royal you there because from XQC to Destiny to Hassan Piker himself to Asmongold, the main, and any other person who was trying to ride her coattails to defend her, while at the same time not calling and addressing the problem there, each and every one of you are responsible for that. And you have to hold that L. If you don't hold it, someone is gonna make you hold it. Right? Because you have takes from people like Asmongold, who will say shit like, oh, if you put the name and the face of the creator in a video, that means that it's harassment. If you put them in the title, that's just harassment. You're right. So your problem is that you have a problem with commentary channels then. Because the thing that's happening there is that commentary channels are identifying the thing that they're talking about. If you see a video and you don't know what's inside of it, and you see a thumbnail concerning something like, oh, I don't know, Nicholas Avocado, is that his last name? I can't remember. I can't be bothered. Let's say you're looking up a situation involving that creator. How do you know that it's a video about them? From the thumbnail and the title. Right. So, if it's harassment to advertise your video the way that all of our thumbnails need to be advertised, and our titles have to be advertised, having the context of understanding what's going on there, to even put them in the title, you're declaring that's harassment. Cool. So, every single time that you put yourself in a thumbnail and you're monetizing content that's not yours, because a lot of this shit happens to be resolved in the problem of watching YouTube videos, you not giving proper credit, you not even paying for these free amounts of dollars you're getting from doing lazy content, but it's theft. And you can be sued for it, because it's actionable. That's this exact same thing. That's the exact same logic. That's what you're giving us here, Asmongold. And considering that you're just asleep at the fucking wheel while Ethan Klein continues to go on his power trip, that means you're not even paying attention and you don't actually care. It was about covering yourself and not your friends. Or covering yourself and your friends, but not actually addressing the problem. This is something I see regularly. Because, see, a lot of people probably had the question of, if all of these streamers agree on this, why are they all defending Pokimane like this, right? Why are they fighting for this God Queen who they may or may not be simping for? And it's not even a problem of simping. Because that's not the issue. The problem is that they're doing this thing that has been happening a very long time on YouTube. Really anywhere where public front-facing speakers must be. They're being politicians. And what I mean by that is that they are putting themselves in the forward-facing position that when something happens, they say, oh, yes, that's so horrible. So bad, so bad. You shouldn't have done that. You should be more like me, the represented face of this community. Can't you see how we can be able to traverse talking shit to each other and also being serious when the situation calls for it? Why are you so bad at this? And yet, when the crow starts calling for them, and it's their ass on the line, what happens? Oh, it's okay, cause like, my audience couldn't know that this was wrong. Like, you should have known that. Like, I can't be expected to know that shit. XQC of all people, making that dumbass take. And it's so stupid, because of the fact that if you just start from, hey, look, here's what I know, here's what I can prove, here's what we see, here's what I asked about, where the only person who's got the most correct take here is any person who's in the industry, like Devin Nash, just analyzing this from the numbers perspective, and from what would be an advantageous choice to make for your business, or, in the case of Charlie, Moist Critical, saying here's what I know about the situation, and also, why are you fucking cheering this on? This is a stupid thing to do. If that were what the streamers were doing in there in that situation, we wouldn't have this problem. I wouldn't be here on the microphone even talking about it. Originally, this was an hour-and-a-half long rant through every single detail about how that situation broke down, but realistically, it doesn't need that. It's just as simple as streamers are very, 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 very hypocritical, and they don't want to get clapped out for the same thing that they themselves are saying is so horrible about someone else. That's realistically what it is. Like, we saw Asmongold get clapped out by his own audience when he was being hypocritical on his own broadcast. If they see the problem, then it's not the audiences of the streamers that is the problem, or the audience of any member who made a public statement or a public comment on it at the time. It is the situation as a whole. Because it's not a situation of Leafy versus the streamers. It is the commentary community and color commentators versus anyone who thinks that they could become the subject of a video and topic of discussion. That's really what it is. Because they're terrified of being criticized. And the thing there of why they're terrified of being criticized is because a lot of them have gotten popular through subversion. You're going to start seeing some videos start popping up. I'll only do one of them on each subject, should I choose to go forward with my plan. But the problem there with the issue of subversion is that a lot of them want to get ahead of the ball, right? Because looking at the main apology, it's still here on the channel. I'm not taking it down unless somebody forces me to. And if it's taken down here, it's going in my BitChute. There are lots of videos I need to upload to my BitChute. What? When you look at the apology from the main, the second one, the very, very sincere, please let's hope this is the one that stops the conflict apology. Whether she was making it because she herself was tired of people using her as a topic of discussion, or if she was feeling really guilty for all this shit that has happened because she just couldn't fucking take an L and get over herself, or if she actually is this stressed out, is actually this annoyed, and also just wants everything to stop, and is hoping that if she apologizes in the best way that she can, that it'll stop the conflict, then here's the apology. Please take it. I hope it's enough. If that's the reason why she made the apology, she is very sincere in her apology. Even if it's a business move. Because really, what does endlessly arguing about this do? Realistically, what has this situation done? What it's done is it's set a precedent, which is streamers are going to complain and bitch and whine and moan when they potentially could become the subject of study. And rather than say, okay, you know what, you're right, I am being a gay nerd. I should find real problems. I should not concern myself with what other people are doing unless it somehow directly affects me. Instead, you see a group and a community of people rise up against potential commentators who have demonstrated that we're really willing to put in the time, the effort, and the necessary steps to archive and show examples of the thing that they are talking about. In this case, the hypocrisy of people taking people's content, doing low-effort content, and essentially being rewarded for doing little to no work while being popular. And because there's so much time and so many hours, the streamers in this situation are rounding the gear, as I'll say. They are thinking about how much time, how much content have they themselves made money off of. That's so low effort content that they themselves could get clapped out for things. Much like how many streamers were using music without copyright and without license. That potentially could have had their entire channels nuked off the platform because of all of the building copyright strikes. The problem is both a personal problem and an industry issue, but it was exacerbated by the amount of unchecked ego. Doesn't matter what ego you throw in there. If you say it's Calvin's, if you say it's a Main's, if you say it's any of the people who I just named, or any of the people who have not been named. The fact of the matter is it shouldn't have happened. It should have just been as simple as, Calvin, stop roasting a Main so hard. Okay, dude. And then we move the fuck on. But instead, it was used as a nexus point to argue endlessly about, oh, how it's so mean and so rude that such a streamer, such a creator, such a YouTuber could just monetize someone like this. Meanwhile, if I was to look up right fucking now, which I think I will, I could pull up several examples of not only how that's bullshit, but more importantly, how you can monetize that for whatever reasons you want, right? Because if it's wrong for us to use people's names in titles to discuss things, like our criticisms of them, Then, one second. Then, this right here, all these videos using Leafy's face, using other people for drama, all of this is also wrong. Because here's channels that could be milking it for views, right? And be it resolved that, let's say, Charlie is the only one who has a proper take here. Outside of Charlie, being probably the only one who said, look, this is not good for us. Why would you cheer this on? You have just justified this being used against all of you. You all are really worried about the wrong thing. If that's the thing that we were supposed to be concerned about, was we were supposed to be concerned about potential problems of bullying, and it's so wrong when it happens, why is it okay when you're doing it to other people? At the end of the day, what else can I say but what I'm about to say? Number one, criticism is not harassment or incitement or demonization. Because I criticized you does not mean I am telling people it is okay to spam the gamer word at you. Just because I criticize you does not mean I am now saying it is acceptable for someone to threaten to firebomb your house at night while you're sleeping because they thought it would be a funny meme. Just because I criticize you does not mean I hate your guts. Therefore, you deserve to have the worst things happen to you. That's not what criticism is. Criticism means that you're capable as a grown fucking adult, if you make content on the internet, publicly facing with your face or voice on it or not, in your brand, that when I say this was a bad choice because you're being inconsistent to your own values, as you supposedly predefined them before, and you are now following new rules that somehow apply to everyone else and do not apply to you and your friends, that is not umbrage for you to now say, oh my god, these single player girls trying to destroy my career! Quick, we need to ban him! That is not what's happening there. That's not what was happening to Calvin. That's not what was happening to Emaine. You cannot be the center of attention all the time, and everybody ain't gonna fucking like you. The sooner you get that through your skull, the better you off you will be. It is probably the best lesson you can learn. I learned that lesson from Dr. Ramvercam. Now there's a shitpost for chasing a man's heart. Be it resolved that you are concerned with actual problems. You have created a problem. Because now, moving forward, for any content producer anywhere, on any website, YouTube, if concerned, and by concerned I mean they're made to be concerned because you have people constantly harassing them to do something about it, a streamer's entire livelihood, or a YouTuber's entire livelihood, or at least their presence on a platform, can be nuked overnight. Because, don't you remember the situation with Leafy? It's just like this one. You have to do the same thing. You've set the precedent for it to be used against us in the future. And more importantly, for those of you who are so hypocritical as to be fearful of criticism, you have now justified it to be used against you. Do you expect me to weep for you when the hammer comes for you? Just because you turned a blind eye because this time it wasn't you? No, I'm gonna cackle. I'm gonna cackle as much as my Cajun heart desires, all the way until my teeth rot out of my head. Because that's what you deserve. You deserve your just desserts. And they're gonna be cold, and gamey, and chewy, and loaded with sugar. Because it's gonna taste sweet as hell when it happens. You can't go on like this. You understand, right? This is for every single person who does this. You cannot go on like this. Being terrified of the internet because some people over there mock you because you're being stupid. As far as I'm concerned, we're all gay nerds. We all have our personal problems and issues and eccentricities that make us eccentric, if not downright weird. But it is the weirdest thing to me to watch people have never-ending arguments on the internet, and all they can do is say, well, they made me feel bad, so that means I get to destroy your life. It's weird when it's people attacking people with cancel culture. It's even weirder when it's people who have so much more money that it's comparable enough to say that combined you have more money than God. And the thing you're concerned about is whether or not people like you. Y'all fucking weird.